The year is 1939, and Europe stands on the brink of a war unlike any before. In the quiet Polish town of Pyry, a group of mathematicians huddle in a forested safe house, their faces illuminated by the dim glow of a single lamp. Among them is Marian Rejewski, a man whose mind has wrestled with an enigma far deadlier than any riddle of antiquity. In his hands lies a machine the Germans call Enigma, a cipher device believed to be unbreakable. Rejewski and his colleagues, Jerzy Rosicki and Henryk Zygalski, have spent years cracking its secrets, not with brute force, but with pure intellect. They've built a device called the Bomba, a precursor to modern computers, to decode the daily changing settings of the German military's communications. On this July day, they hand over their findings to stunned British and French intelligence officers. The Poles know the invasion is imminent. They've done all they can. This moment, shrouded in secrecy, marks the birth of the greatest code-breaking effort in history, a race against time that will save millions of lives and shape the war's outcome. Across the English Channel, in a sprawling country estate called Bletchley Park, a new kind of army assembles. Not soldiers with rifles, but eccentrics, chess champions, and linguists. Alan Turing, a Cambridge mathematician with a reputation for brilliance and unconventional thinking, arrives in September 1939. He's tasked with breaking Enigma on an industrial scale. The Germans have upgraded their machines, adding complexity that renders the Polish Bomba obsolete. Turing's solution is the bomb, an electromechanical marvel that tests thousands of rotor settings per minute. Picture this: a room filled with these clattering machines, tended by women of the Women's Royal Naval Service, their hands stained with ink and oil. They work in shifts, day and night, decoding messages that reveal U-boat positions, troop movements, and Luftwaffe plans. One decoded message in 1941 saves a convoy in the Atlantic, preventing the starvation of Britain. But the cost is immense. Secrecy demands silence. These codebreakers, sworn to oaths, cannot tell their families what they do. Some will carry this burden to their graves. Now, shift your gaze to the skies over Britain in 1940. The Battle of Britain rages, and the Luftwaffe seems unstoppable. But Bletchley's intercepts reveal German radar blind spots. The British, under the guidance of scientist Robert Watson Watt, have their own secret radar. Developed in the 1930s at Bawdsey Manor, this technology detects enemy aircraft hundreds of miles away. Chain home stations, towering masts along the English coast, pulse radio waves into the sky, bouncing signals off incoming bombers. Doubting's air defense system, fed by radar and Enigma decrypts, allows Spitfires and Hurricanes to intercept raiders with uncanny precision. A single radar station at Ventnor, damaged by a German bomb, is back online within hours, a testament to British ingenuity. The Germans, unaware their codes are compromised, blame their losses on British witchcraft. By the war's end, radar will evolve into systems that guide night fighters and bombers, turning the tide in the air. But the Germans have secrets of their own. In a cavernous underground facility at Peenemünde on the Baltic coast, Wernher von Braun oversees a project that sounds like science fiction, the V-2 rocket. This is no artillery shell, but a ballistic missile, capable of striking London from hundreds of miles away. Powered by liquid ethanol and oxygen, the V-2 travels faster than sound, arriving without warning. Its guidance system, primitive but effective, uses gyroscopes to steer it toward preset coordinates. By 1944, these rockets rain down on London, killing thousands. Yet, British intelligence, aided by Polish resistance fighters and aerial reconnaissance, pinpoints Peenemünde. In Operation Crossbow, Allied bombers pound the facility, delaying the V-2's deployment by critical months. Captured V-2 parts reveal a terrifying truth. Germany is years ahead in rocketry. This knowledge will fuel the Cold War space race. But in 1944, it's a desperate fight to stop a weapon that could break British morale. Meanwhile, in the United States, a different kind of secret brews. In a squash court beneath the University of Chicago's Stagfield, Enrico Fermi, an Italian physicist who fled Mussolini's regime, achieves the impossible on December 2nd, 1942. He sustains the first nuclear chain reaction in a pile of graphite and uranium called Chicago Pile 1. This is the genesis of the atomic bomb, a weapon of unimaginable power. The Manhattan Project, a sprawling effort involving 130,000 people across secret sites in Los Alamos, Oak Ridge, and Hanford, takes shape under General Leslie Groves and scientist J. Robert Oppenheimer. At Los Alamos, in the New Mexico desert, Oppenheimer assembles a team of geniuses, Niels Bohr, Richard Feynman, and others, to design bombs using uranium and plutonium. The challenges are staggering: purifying uranium-235, triggering a plutonium implosion, and ensuring the bomb doesn't fizzle. Spies lurk in the shadows. Klaus Fuchs, a German-born physicist, passes secrets to the Soviets, ensuring the Cold War will be nuclear. Back in Europe, the Codebreakers at Bletchley face their greatest challenge yet, the Lorenz cipher, used by Hitler's high command. Turing's protege, Tommy Flowers, builds the Colossus, a programmable electronic computer, the first of its kind. In a room filled with 2,400 vacuum tubes, Colossus cracks Lorenz's messages in hours, revealing Hitler's strategic plans. One intercept in 1944 confirms the Germans believe the D-Day invasion will target Calais, not Normandy. This deception, orchestrated by Operation Fortitude, allows the Allies to land 156,000 troops on June 6 with less resistance than feared. The cost of secrecy is high. Bletchley's workers live in a pressure cooker of stress. Some, like Turing, face personal persecution. His homosexuality, legal at the time only in private, will later destroy him. Yet their work shortens the war by years, saving countless lives. As the war intensifies, technology becomes a double-edged sword. The proximity fuse, a miniature radar in artillery shells, revolutionizes anti-aircraft warfare. Developed by British and American scientists, it detonates shells at the perfect height to shred enemy planes. In the Pacific, it decimates Japanese air forces during the Battle of the Philippine Sea. Meanwhile, the Germans deploy the Me-262, the world's first operational jet fighter. Its speed outclasses Allied piston engines, but fuel shortages and Hitler's insistence on using it as a bomber limit its impact. Allied pilots, guided by intelligence, target fuel depots and airfields, grounding the jets. Every technological leap by one side spurs a counter by the other, creating a deadly dance of innovation. In the Pacific, the U.S. Navy's Codebreakers in Hawaii, led by Joseph Rockefort, cracked Japan's Gen 25 naval code. This intelligence leads to victory at Midway in June 1942, where 4 Japanese carriers are sunk in a single day. The decrypts reveal Admiral Yamamoto's plans, allowing American carriers to ambush the Japanese fleet. This battle, fought entirely by aircraft, marks the turning point in the Pacific. Yet, the human toll is staggering. Sailors burn in oil-slicked waters, and pilots parachute into shark-infested seas. Technology amplifies war's horror, but it also offers hope. The Norden bomb sight, a closely guarded American secret, promises pinpoint accuracy from 20,000 feet. In reality, clouds and flak often render it useless, but its myth boosts bomber crew morale. As 1945 dawns, the Allies close in on Germany. Enigma decrypts reveal the locations of V-2 launch sites, and Allied bombers obliterate them. In the Pacific, the Manhattan Project races toward completion. On July 16, 1945, in the New Mexico desert, the Trinity test lights up the sky with a force of 20,000 tons of TNT. Oppenheimer, watching the mushroom cloud, quotes the Bhagavad Gita, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." The bomb is ready, but its use will haunt humanity forever. In Europe, the war ends in May, but the Pacific grinds on. Japan's refusal to surrender forces a terrible decision. On August 6th, the Enola Gay drops little boy on Hiroshima. 3 days later, Fat Man falls on Nagasaki. The war ends, but the nuclear age begins. The secrets of World War II, from Enigma's rotors to the atom's fury, reshaped the world. Codebreakers, scientists, and engineers, often unsung, turned the tide. Their stories, buried in classified files for decades, reveal a war fought as much in laboratories as on battlefields. But one question lingers. What other secrets remain hidden, waiting to be uncovered? The next part of this journey will dive deeper into the shadows of Bletchley Park, where human ingenuity clashed with mechanical genius, and every decoded message was a step toward victory or catastrophe. Stay with me, because the stakes only get higher. The winter of 1941 grips Bletchley Park in ice, but inside Hut 8, the air crackles with urgency. Alan Turing paces barefoot, his eccentric habit, past rows of bombs that clatter like mechanical hearts. Each machine, taller than a man and heavier than a car, contains 30 Enigma replicas spinning in synchronized fury. A young Wren named Joan Clark, one of the few women allowed into the inner circle, feeds a crib, a guess German phrase, into the bomb. The phrase is Heil Hitler, a salute that ends nearly every message. If the machine stops, it has found a possible setting. Most days it doesn't. The Germans change keys daily at midnight, and the window to decode is shrinking. One night in February, a bomb halts after 6 hours. The decrypted message reveals a U-boat wolf pack converging on convoy HX 106. The Admiralty reroutes the ships. 30 merchant vessels and 200,000 tons of supplies reach Britain. Without that intercept, the convoy would have been annihilated. The Codebreakers celebrate with tea and biscuits, then return to work. There is no time for triumph. In Hut 6, the Army Enigma team faces a different beast. The German Army uses more rotor combinations than the Navy, and their messages are longer, filled with weather reports and supply requests. Gordon Welchman, a soft-spoken mathematician, invents the diagonal board, a wiring panel that speeds up the bomb process by eliminating impossible settings. His innovation cuts decoding time from weeks to hours. Welchman's team includes crossword enthusiasts recruited through a newspaper contest in the Daily Telegraph. One winner, a retired schoolteacher from Surrey, decodes a message revealing the exact strength of Rommel's Afrika Korps in 1942. Churchill, reading the intercept in his bunker, mutters, "Give me the wizards." He never meets them. Their existence is classified above top secret. Even the King's visit to Bletchley in 1942 is staged. Codebreakers hide their work under tablecloths. The human cost mounts. Sleep is rationed to 4 hours a night. A cryptanalyst named John Harrival notices that German operators, rushed at the start of their shift, often choose rotor settings close to the previous days. This Harrival tip becomes a cornerstone of breaking Enigma. But Harrival himself cracks under the strain, suffering a nervous breakdown in 1943. He is sent to a quiet cottage in the Cotswolds, sworn to silence. Others cope differently. Turing runs miles through the countryside to clear his mind, returning with solutions scribbled on cigarette packets. The women of Bletchley, 80% of the workforce, face double duty, decoding by day, raising children by night. One Wren, Mavis Lever, deciphers a message that prevents a German ambush in North Africa. She is 19 years old. Her mother believes she works as a typist. Across the Atlantic, American codebreakers join the fray. In a cramped basement in Washington, D.C., the U.S. Navy's OP-20G unit attacks Japan's Jan 25 code. Commander Joseph Rockefort, a bald, chain-smoking genius, lives in his office for months. His team uses IBM punch card machines, early computers, to sort through thousands of intercepted messages. In May 1942, they decode a fragment. AF is short on water. Rockefort suspects AF is Midway Island. To confirm, he orders a fake message sent in the clear. Midway's desalination plant has failed. The Japanese intercept it and report AF is short on water. The trap is set. On June 4th, American dive bombers catch the Japanese carriers with decks full of aircraft, fueling and arming. For carriers sink in minutes. Rockefort's intercept saves the Pacific Fleet but he receives no medal. The Navy, jealous of his success, transfers him to a desk job in San Francisco. Back in Britain, the Germans introduce a deadly upgrade, the four-rotor Enigma for U-boats. From February to December 1942, Bletchley is blind in the Atlantic. U-boats sink 7 million tons of shipping. Britain teeters on starvation. Turing, desperate, writes to his American counterparts sharing bomb designs. In return, the U.S. sends faster machines and more Wrens. By March 1943, the Allies capture a U-boat codebook from U-559 at the cost of 2 British sailors' lives. With the book and Turing's improvements, the bombs roar back to life. The Black May of 1943 sees 41 U-boats sunk in a single month. Admiral Donitz, believing his cipher secure, pulls the submarines from the Atlantic. The Battle of the Atlantic is won, not by ships, but by mathematicians. In the Pacific, technology evolves in blood. The U.S. Navy's Codebreakers move to Pearl Harbor, where Rockefeller's successor, Jasper Holmes, tracks Japanese fleet movements. Their intercepts guide Task Force 58 to the Marianas in June 1944. In the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot, American pilots, armed with the proximity fuse, shoot down 240 Japanese planes in a day. The fuse, a secret radio transmitter in each shell, detonates when it senses an aircraft nearby. Japanese pilots, flying obsolete Zeros, have no counter. The fuse also arms the shells of battleships bombarding Saipan, shredding Japanese bunkers. By war's end, it will be credited with saving thousands of Allied lives. But the Germans strike back with terror weapons. In June 1944, the first V-1 flying bombs, buzz bombs, cross the channel. These pulse jet drones carry a ton of explosives and fly at 400 miles per hour. Londoners learn to dread the silence when the engine cuts out. That's when the bomb dives. British scientist R.V. Jones, a master of scientific intelligence, devises a counter. By feeding false reports to German spies in Britain, he convinces the Germans their V-1s are overshooting London. The bombs fall harmlessly in Kent fields. Radar-guided anti-aircraft guns, armed with proximity fuses, shoot down 2,000 V-1s. Spitfire pilots learn to tip the bombs with their wings, sending them spinning into the sea. The V-1 menace ends, but the V-2 looms. At Piedmont, Wernher von Braun perfects the V-2. In September 1944, the first rocket strikes London. Traveling at Mach 3, it arrives without warning. British intelligence, using Enigma decrypts and photo reconnaissance, locates mobile launch sites in Holland. Operation Crossbow bombers destroy 80% of the launchers, but 1,200 V-2s still hit Britain, killing 2,700. Captured V-2s reveal gyroscopic guidance and liquid fuel engines, technology decades ahead. American and Soviet teams race to recruit von Braun scientists. In 1945, von Braun surrenders to the Americans, bringing blueprints that will birth NASA's Saturn V. In the shadows, espionage thrives. The Soviets, allied but suspicious, infiltrate Los Alamos. Klaus Fuchs, a brilliant physicist, passes bomb designs to Moscow. His betrayal ensures the USSR will test its own bomb in 1949. In Britain, the Cambridge Five, Kim Philby and others, feed Bletchley's secrets to Stalin. The Codebreakers never know their work aids the enemy. Turing, unaware of the spies, focuses on the future. In 1945, he designs the automatic computing engine, a stored program computer. His ideas will power the digital age, but he will not live to see it. As D-Day approaches, Bletchley's intercepts confirm the success of Operation Fortitude. Dummy tanks and fake radio traffic convince Hitler that Patton's Phantom Army will strike Calais. On June 6, 1944, the Normandy beaches are lightly defended. Enigma reveals German panic as reserves stay north. The Allies break out in weeks, not months. In Hut 3, translators race to process 4,000 messages a day. One intercept saves the airborne division at Arnhem. Another dooms it when the Germans reinforce faster than expected. Every decode is a gamble with lives. The war's end nears, but the secrets multiply. In Los Alamos, the plutonium bomb's implosion design falters. A test in May 1945 fails. The core collapses unevenly. Oppenheimer, chain-smoking in the desert heat, demands a solution. John von Neumann, the Hungarian mathematician, suggests explosive lenses, shaped charges to compress the plutonium symmetrically. The lenses work, but the bomb requires 32 simultaneous detonations, precise to a microsecond. The team succeeds, but the cost is moral. Fermi warns that the bomb could ignite the atmosphere. A calculation proves it won't, but the fear lingers. In Europe, the Colossus computers hum. Tommy Flowers machines, using 2,400 vacuum tubes, break the Lorenz cipher in hours. One message in March 1945 reveals Hitler's plan to flood the Rhine. The Allies cross before the dams burst. Another intercept locates the last V-2 fuel depot. Bombers destroy it, ending the rocket threat. As Germany collapses, Bletchley's staff dwindles. Some are reassigned to the Pacific, where Japanese codes grow desperate. Others burn documents, erasing their legacy. The final months bring triumph and tragedy. Turing, exhausted, returns to Cambridge. His work saves 14 million lives, according to historians, but he is arrested in 1952 for homosexuality. Chemical castration destroys his mind. He dies by suicide in 1954. The bombs are scrapped, Colossus dismantled. The Wrens return to civilian life, their stories locked away. Only in the 1970s, when secrecy lifts, does the world learn of Bletchley's miracles. But the atomic bomb's shadow looms largest. In July 1945, the Trinity test succeeds. The Pacific War demands its use. The next part of this saga will follow the Manhattan Project's desperate race, the moral anguish of its creators, and the fiery end that birthed the nuclear age. The secrets are darker now, and the stakes are the survival of humanity itself. Stay with me. The climax is yet to come. The desert wind howls across the Jornada del Muerto, a barren stretch of New Mexico where even the rattlesnakes seek shade. It is 3 a.m. on July 16th, 1945, and Robert Oppenheimer stands in the control bunker at S10-000, his coat collar turned up against the chill. 20 miles away, a steel tower rises from the sand, crowned by a corrugated shed that houses the gadget, a sphere of plutonium and high explosives no larger than a beach ball. Around him, the greatest minds of physics fidget. Enrico Fermi calculates wine drift on a slide rule. Hans Bethe checks detonator circuits, and General Leslie Groves paces like a caged bear. A storm threatens. Rain could scatter radioactive fallout across 3 states. Oppenheimer lights another cigarette, his fourth in 10 minutes. The countdown begins. At 5 hours, 29 minutes, and 45 seconds, the sky ignites. A blinding flash turns night into noon, followed by a fireball that climbs 40,000 feet in seconds. The shock wave shatters windows 120 miles away. Oppenheimer whispers the line from the Gita, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." The atomic age is born in fire. Back in 1942, the Manhattan Project had been a gamble. Groves, a bulldog engineer who built the Pentagon in 18 months, takes command in September. His first act is to buy 52,000 acres of Tennessee wilderness for Oak Ridge, a city that will not appear on any map. By 1943, 75,000 workers, many Appalachian farmers who have never seen a flush toilet, live in prefab barracks behind barbed wire. Their job, separate uranium-235 from uranium-238. The isotope U-235 fissions, U-238 does not. The difference in mass is 1 part in 140. 2 methods emerge. Calatrons, giant mass spectrometers, use electromagnetic fields to fling uranium ions in curves. Lighter U-235 lands in one bucket, heavier U-238 in another. Women operators, dubbed Calatron girls, monitor dials for 12-hour shifts, unaware they are enriching bomb fuel. The other method, gaseous diffusion, forces uranium hexafluoride gas through miles of porous barriers at the K-25 plant, a building so large it has its own weather system. By 1945, Oak Ridge consumes more electricity than New York City. In Washington state, Hanford Engineer Works rises on the Columbia River. Here, 3 graphite-moderated reactors produce plutonium-239, a byproduct of uranium irradiation. DuPont builds the reactors in 14 months, a feat that normally takes a decade. Cooling water is pumped from the river at 40,000 gallons per minute. Any leak could poison the Pacific Northwest. Chemist Glenn Seaborg devises the bismuth phosphate process to extract plutonium from irradiated fuel rods. The work is lethal. Workers wear film badges that blacken with radiation. One chemist, Don Mastic, accidentally swallows plutonium solution. Doctors flush his stomach with peroxide and truss him to a bed for days. The plutonium is recovered from his urine, purified, and sent to Los Alamos. By war's end, Hanford will have poisoned the Columbia with radioactive waste that will glow for centuries. At Los Alamos, the Mesa Top laboratory resembles a frontier town. Barracks, a commissary, and a single movie theater serve 6,000 souls cut off from the world. Mail is censored. Babies are born with P.O. Box 1663 on birth certificates. Oppenheimer, director at 38, rules with charm and terror. He recruits Europeans fleeing Hitler, Bohr, Fermi, Teller, and Americans like Feynman, who plays bongo drums at night to unwind. The bomb has 2 designs. Little Boy, a gun-type uranium device, is so simple it will not be tested. Fat Man, the plutonium implosion bomb, is another story. Plutonium from Hanford contains Pu-240, which fissions spontaneously. A gun assembly would pre-detonate, yielding a fizzle. The solution: compress a subcritical plutonium core to supercritical density in microseconds using a sphere of conventional explosives. The symmetry must be perfect to 1/10,000th of an inch. The explosive lenses are the devil's work. 32 lenses, 12 pentagonal, 20 hexagonal, form a soccer ball shell around the core. Each lens is cast from composition B and HMX, shaped with conical cavities. Detonators must fire within 100 nanoseconds of each other. In March 1945, a test implosion crushes a steel pipe, but the core collapses unevenly. George Kistiakowsky, a Ukrainian explosives expert who once blew up a professor's desk as a student prank, redesigns the lenses. He casts them in magnesium molds, then polishes them like jewels. By June, a full-scale test with non-nuclear core achieves 50% compression. The bomb is feasible, but the margin for error is razor-thin. Security is paranoid. Groves divides the project into compartments. No scientist knows the full design. Counterintelligence, led by Captain Pierre de Silva, plants microphones in barracks. One physicist, Klaus Fuchs, passes sketches of the implosion mechanism to Harry Gold, a courier for the Soviets. Fuchs believes the bomb must be shared to prevent American monopoly. His betrayal will not be discovered until 1950. Meanwhile, Japanese Americans interned at Manzanar are recruited as janitors at Los Alamos. Their loyalty is absolute, their clearance total. A Navajo code talker guards the plutonium core, speaking a language the Germans and Japanese cannot break. In the Pacific, conventional war grinds on. On Iwo Jima, Marines raise the flag on Suribachi while B-29s drop incendiaries on Tokyo, burning 100,000 civilians in one night. The atomic bomb is meant to end this slaughter. In April 1945, President Truman is briefed in the Oval Office. Grove spreads maps showing Japan's cities, each that represents a potential target. Hiroshima is chosen for its flat terrain and military depot. Kyoto is spared because Secretary of War Henry Stimson honeymooned there in 1926. On Tinian Island, the 509th Composite Group practices with pumpkin-shaped bombs filled with concrete. Colonel Paul Tibbets names his B 29 Enola Gay after his mother. On July 26th, the cruiser Indianapolis delivers little boy's uranium to Tinian, then is torpedoed. 800 men die in shark-infested waters. July 1945 is a month of waiting. At Potsdam, Truman hints to Stalin about a new weapon. Stalin, already informed by Fuchs, nods politely. In Los Alamos, the scientists debate a demonstration blast on an uninhabited island. Teller argues for it. Oppenheimer fears Japan would hide civilians in the target zone. A petition circulates among 70 scientists urging non-combat use. Grove suppresses it. On July 16th, Trinity succeeds. The yield is 21 kilotons, 4 times Hiroshima's plant explosion. Shock waves crack concrete bunkers. The sand turns to glass. Fermi, standing 10 miles away, drops bits of paper in the blast wind to measure yield. The calculation matches the instruments. August 6 dawns clear over Hiroshima. At 8:15 a.m., Little Boy detonates 1,900 feet above Shima Hospital. The temperature at ground zero reaches 7,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Shadows of vaporized people are etched into stone steps. 70,000 die instantly. 70,000 more will perish from radiation by year's end. In Tinian, Tibbets lands to cheers. 3 days later, Fat Man falls on Nagasaki after cloud cover forces a change from Kakura. The plutonium bomb is more powerful but kills fewer, 40,000 immediate deaths, because of the city's hills. On August 10th, Japan offers surrender contingent on the Emperor's retention. Truman accepts. On September 2nd, aboard USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay, the war ends. The scientists scatter. Oppenheimer resigns, haunted by the bombs used on civilians. He tells Truman, "Mr. President, I feel I have blood on my hands." Truman calls him a crybaby scientist and bans him from the White House. Fermi returns to Chicago, warning of hydrogen bombs. Teller pushes for the super, a thermonuclear weapon 1,000 times more powerful. In 1946, Bikini Atoll hosts Operation Crossroads. Able and Baker shots vaporize ships and contaminate the lagoon. The Navy learns ships can survive near a nuclear blast, if not at ground zero, a lesson for the Cold War. At Los Alamos, the plutonium core from an unused third bomb is melted down and recast into a demon core for criticality experiments. In August 1945, Harry Daghlian drops a brick, causing a blue flash and fatal radiation. 9 months later, Louis Slotin, demonstrating with a screwdriver, lets the hemispheres touch. The same blue glow. Slotin dies in 9 days, shielding others with his body. The core is buried in lead. The Soviet bomb program accelerates. In 1946, Igor Kurchatov receives Fuchs implosion drawings. Lavreny Beria, Stalin's secret police chief, oversees the project with Gulag labor. On August 29, 1949, RDS-1 explodes in Kazakhstan, a plutonium implosion device identical to Fat Man. The nuclear arms race begins. In Britain, the Tube Alloys Project merges with the Manhattan Project, but Churchill demands a voice. William Penny, who witnessed Nagasaki's ruins, leads Britain's bomb effort. On October 3, 1952, Hurricane detonates in the Montebello Islands, Britain's first atomic test. France follows in 1960, China in 1964. The club rose. The human toll lingers. Hiroshima survivors, Hibakusha, suffer leukemia and cataracts. American soldiers at Trinity inhale fallout. Many die young. Navajo uranium miners in the 1950s develop lung cancer from unventilated shafts. The bomb's legacy is a poison earth. The next part will explore the rocket scientist's flight from Piedmont, the birth of the space race, and the V-2's transformation from terror weapon to moon rocket. The men who built Hitler's vengeance weapons will put Americans on the lunar surface. The story turns from destruction to exploration, but the shadow of the bomb never lifts. Stay with me. The journey is far from over. The snow falls thick on Piedmont in March 1943, muffling the roar of a silver arrow as it climbs into the Baltic sky. Wernher von Braun, 31 years old, and already a baron of rocketry, watches through binoculars from the test stand. Aggregate 4, soon to be called Virgil Tungswaf 2, Vengeance Weapon 2, reaches 60 miles altitude in 45 seconds, then arcs toward the sea. The warhead is concrete, but the promise is real, a missile that can strike London from France in 5 minutes. Von Braun's team, 1,500 engineers and technicians, cheers as the rocket splashes down 150 miles away. In Berlin, Hitler dreams of turning the tide. He promotes von Braun to professor and orders 12,000 V-2s built. The Reichsfuhrer says Heinrich Himmler offers a solution for labor. Prisoners from Mittelbau-Dora, a subterranean factory carved into the Harz Mountains. The rockets will be born in hell. At Dora, 60,000 prisoners, Poles, Russians, French, Jews, dig tunnels under the lash. They sleep in the caverns, breathing gypsum dust that coats their lungs. The V-2 assembly line runs 24 hours a day. A single mistake means death. One prisoner, a Belgian electrician named Jean-Michel, sabotages a guidance gyro by filing a bearing. The rocket veers into the North Sea. Michel is hanged in the tunnel, his body left as a warning. By September 1944, the first combat V-2 lifts off from a forest near The Hague. It lands in Chiswick, London, killing 3 and wounding 17. No air raid siren sounds. The explosion is the first warning. Over the next 7 months, 1,359 V-2s hit Britain, 1,054 strike Antwerp. Each carries a ton of amytal, enough to level a city block. Londoners call them flying gas pipes. The psychological blow is worse than the physical. The silence before impact, the random death. British intelligence fights back. In 1943, a Polish Home Army agent, Jerzy Szymilewski, photographs a V-2 on a test stand at Blizna. The film, smuggled in a toothpaste tube, reaches London. Duncan Sandys, Churchill's son-in-law, heads Operation Crossbow. Spitfires fly low over Piedmont, snapping photos of assembly halls. On the night of August 17, 1943, 597 RAF bombers drop 1,800 tons of high explosives. The raid kills 735, including 2 key scientists, but von Braun's team relocates to the mountains. Production slows, but never stops. In 1944, the Allies capture a V-2 in Poland after it fails to explode. Engineers dismantle it in a barn, shipping parts to Farnborough. They learn the rocket uses ethanol and liquid oxygen, burns for 65 seconds, and coasts the rest of the way. The guidance is primitive gyroscopes and accelerometers, but revolutionary. Across the channel, the U.S. Army Ordnance Department smells opportunity. In 1944, Colonel Holger Toftoy quietly orders 100 V-2s shipped to America after the war. He wants von Braun. As the Red Army advances in January 1945, von Braun convenes his staff in a Bleischerode hotel. "The Americans will treat us better," he says. They load blueprints, test data, and 14 tons of documents onto trains. On April 11th, American troops reach Nordhausen. They find 3,000 corpses in the tunnels. 20,000 prisoners have died building the V-2. The soldiers are sickened. Toftoy's men arrive days later, creating rockets under Soviet noses. Von Braun, his arm in a cast from a car crash, surrenders to the 44th Infantry Division near Riyadh, Austria, on May 2nd. "My country lost the war," he tells Private Fred Schneekert. "I want to help yours win the next one." Operation Paperclip begins. The Joint Intelligence Objectives Agency scrubs Nazi records. Von Braun's SS membership, honorary, he claims, is erased. By September 1945, 120 German rocket scientists board the SS Argentina in Le Havre, bound for El Paso. They are housed at Fort Bliss, Texas, under guard but with families. Their mission: teach Americans to fly the V-2. In 1946, the first launch from White Sands, New Mexico, reaches 70 miles. Motion picture cameras in the nose film Earth's curvature. The footage stuns the world. The Army and Navy compete for control. The Navy's Viking rocket, designed by American engineers, flies higher but costs more. Von Braun's team wins influence. In 1950, they moved to Huntsville, Alabama, home of the Redstone Arsenal. The Rocket City is born. In the Soviet Union, Stalin rages. He wants his own missiles. Helmut Grotrup, von Braun's deputy, is kidnapped with 200 colleagues and sent to Moscow. Under guard in a dacha, they rebuild V-2s from memory. Sergei Korolev, a former Gulag prisoner who survived Kolyma, leads the Soviet effort. He improves the V-2, stretching it to carry a heavier warhead. On October 18, 1947, an R-1 lifts off from Kapustin Yar. It is a copy, but the next will be better. Korolev dreams of space. Stalin wants ICBMs. By 1957, the R-7 will launch Sputnik. Back in America, the Cold War accelerates rocketry. In 1949, a two-stage V-2 WWII Corporal reaches 250 miles, the edge of space. The data feeds Project Bumper. Von Braun writes articles for Collier's magazine, illustrated by Chesley Bonetell, showing wheel-shaped space stations and lunar bases. The public is hooked. In 1952, the Army gives him the Redstone missile, a shortened V-2 with American electronics. It flies 200 miles. Von Braun wants more. He lobbies for a satellite. The Navy's Vanguard is chosen instead. On December 6, 1957, Vanguard explodes on the pad. The nation panics. Eisenhower turns to von Braun. On January 31, 1958, Juno I, Redstone with upper stages, lofts Explorer 1. James Van Allen discovers radiation belts. America is back in the race. The V-2's children grow. The Army's Jupiter missile, designed in Huntsville, carries a nuclear warhead 1,500 miles. In 1958, the Air Force forms ARPA to counter Soviet missiles. NASA is born the same year. Von Braun becomes director of the Marshall Space Flight Center. His Saturn rockets will be monsters. Saturn I, 500,000 pounds of thrust. Saturn V, 7.5 million. The F-1 engine, 5 clustered in the first stage, burns kerosene and liquid oxygen at 1.5 million pounds each. To test them, Huntsville builds a stand in a cotton field. The roar shatters windows 10 miles away. Farmers sue. NASA pays. In the Pacific, another secret weapon matures. The U.S. Navy's submarine-launched Polaris missile, solid-fueled and compact, can strike from underwater. George Hoover, a naval officer, pushes for nuclear propulsion. In 1954, the USS Nautilus slides into the Thames River, powered by a reactor the size of a garage. Hyman Rickover, the irascible admiral, drives the program. Nautilus sails under the North Pole in 1958. Submarines become undetectable launch platforms. The nuclear triad, bombers, ICBMs, submarines, is complete. The Germans adapt. Von Braun's brother Magnus works on guidance for the Pershing missile. Walter Dornberger, former Peenemünde commander, consults for Bell Aircraft. Some regret their past. Arthur Rudolph, production chief at Dora, faces deportation in 1984 for war crimes. Von Braun testifies for him, then dies of cancer in 1977, his legacy mixed. The V-2 killed 9,000 in Britain and Belgium. Dora claimed 20,000. Yet the same technology put men on the moon. In France, the resistance smuggles V-2 parts to a barn near Vernon. Engineers reverse engineer the combustion chamber. In 1965, the Diamant rocket launches Asterix, France's first satellite. Israel, using French help, builds the Shavit. Egypt hires German scientists. Nasser's missiles fail in 1962. The proliferation begins. The space race peaks. On July 20th, 1969, Saturn V roars from Kennedy Space Center. Neil Armstrong steps onto the Sea of Tranquility. Von Braun watches from the firing room, tears in his eyes. The V-2's grandson has carried humanity to another world. In Mission Control, a plaque reads, "We came in peace for all mankind." The irony is unspoken. The next part, the finale, will tie the threads. Enigma's heirs in modern computing, the bomb's shadow over deterrence, and a rocket's journey from terror to exploration. The secrets of World War II did not end in 1945. They launched us into the stars and chained us to mutual destruction. The story concludes with a question: how we master the fire, or does it still master us? Stay for the end. The war ends, but the secrets do not die. They mutate. In a quiet Cambridge laboratory in 1946, a young engineer named Maurice Wilkes stares at a rack of glowing vacuum tubes. The machine is the EDSAC, Electronic Delay Storage Automatic Calculator, the first practical stored program computer. Its blueprint owes everything to the Colossus machines that Tommy Flowers built in Hut 11 at Bletchley Park. Flowers never patented Colossus. The government classified it for 30 years. Wilkes, allowed a peek at the declassified fragments in 1945, realizes the future: instructions and data stored in the same memory. On May 6, 1949, EDSAC runs its first program, a table of squares. The digital revolution begins in the shadow of wartime code breaking. By 1951, the Ferranti Mark I, a commercial version, sells to Manchester University. The same logic that cracked Lorenz ciphers now calculates pension tables and weather forecasts. The women who operated the bombs, Joan Clark, Mavis Lever, thousands more, returned to typing pools, their genius unrecognized. Only in 2009 does the British government award them a medal. Most recipients are dead. Across the Atlantic, the UNTAC, Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer, emerges from the University of Pennsylvania's Moore School. Built for artillery tables, it is reprogrammed in 1945 to simulate hydrogen bomb reactions. John von Neumann, who watched Trinity's Fireball, writes the first draft of a report on the EDVAC, describing the architecture every modern computer follows: CPU, memory, input, output. The document circulates among Manhattan Project scientists, then leaks to industry. IBM, Remington Rand, and a dozen startups race to build electronic brains. In 1951, WWII predicts Eisenhower's landslide victory on live television, stunning viewers who still crank adding machines. The Cold War demands computation, missile trajectories, nuclear yields, code breaking. The NSA, born in 1952, inherits Bletchley's mission. Its first computer, Harvest, fills a warehouse and cracks Soviet ciphers in hours. The lineage is unbroken, from Enigma to AI. The bomb itself evolves. In 1950, Truman authorizes the hydrogen bomb. Edward Teller and Stanislaw Ulam devise the Teller-Ulam configuration. A fission primary triggers a fusion secondary, compressing lithium deuteride with X-rays. On November 1, 1952, Ivy Mike detonates on Eniwetok Atoll. The explosion, 10.4 megatons, vaporizes the island, leaving a crater 2 miles wide. The mushroom cloud rises 25 miles, higher than the stratosphere. The Soviets follow with Joe, for in 1953, a deliverable H-bomb. By 1954, both superpowers test thermonuclear weapons in the open air. Fallout drifts across continents. Milk in Albany, New York, shows strontium-90. Children born in 1963 have radioactive baby teeth. The Limited Test Ban Treaty of 1963 drives testing underground, but the arsenals grow. By 1986, the world holds 70,000 warheads, enough to end civilization 50 times over. Deterrence, they call it. MAD, mutually assured destruction, keeps the peace through terror. Rockets become the delivery system. In 1957, Sputnik's beep beep circles the globe every 96 minutes. Schoolchildren in Iowa look up, terrified and thrilled. Von Braun's Jupiter C could have launched an American satellite earlier, but Eisenhower feared militarizing space. The Soviet R-7, Korolev's masterpiece, carries both Sputnik and the Tsar Bomba, 50 megatons, tested in 1961. The shock wave circles Earth 3 times. In Huntsville, von Braun's Saturn V grows to 363 feet, taller than the Statue of Liberty. Its F-1 engines burn 15 tons of fuel per second. On December 24, 1968, Apollo 8 orbits the moon. Frank Borman reads from Genesis as Earth rises over the lunar horizon. The image unites humanity for one Christmas Eve. 7 months later, Armstrong's boot prints the Sea of Tranquility. The V2's grandchildren have carried us 240,000 miles. But the past refuses to stay buried. In 1971, the Pentagon Papers reveal how Enigma decrypts shaped Vietnam strategy, intelligence ignored by politicians. In 1975, the Church Committee exposes CIA use of Manhattan Project radiation experiments on unwitting civilians. In 1983, Arthur Rudolph, Von Braun's production chief, is deported for slave labor at Dora. The Justice Department's Office of Special Investigations hunts 200 former Nazis in America. Some are gardeners in Queens, others engineers at Boeing. The rockets that reached the moon were built by men who built death. Computing explodes. In 1947, Bell Labs invents the transistor, solid state, no vacuum tubes. By 1958, Jack Kilby at Texas Instruments places resistors, capacitors, and transistors on a single germanium chip. The integrated circuit is born. Moore's law, transistor count doubles every 18 months, holds for half a century. In 1971, Intel's 4004 microprocessor powers a calculator. In 1975, the Altair 8800 kit sparks the personal computer revolution. By 1984, the Macintosh brings graphical interfaces to homes. The Internet, conceived as ARPANET in 1969 to survive nuclear war, connects universities, then the world. In 1991, Tim Berners-Lee posts the first website from CERN. The code-breaking machines of Bletchley become the smartphones in your pocket. Nuclear power spreads. In 1954, the USS Nautilus proves reactors can drive ships indefinitely. In 1957, Shippingport, Pennsylvania, lights homes with atomic electricity. By 2025, 440 reactors operate worldwide, but accidents haunt the dream. Chernobyl in 1986, Fukushima in 2011. Meltdowns that render regions uninhabitable for centuries. Yet fusion research continues. ITER in France, a 35-nation project, aims to ignite a star on Earth by 2035. If successful, it will be the Manhattan Project in reverse. Energy without waste, without weapons. The V2's legacy reaches Mars. In 1997, Pathfinder Sojourner rover rolls across the Martian surface, guided by software descended from Apollo. In 2021, Perseverance lands in Jezero crater, carrying Ingenuity, a drone powered by a Snapdragon processor. The same gyroscopes that steered V2s now stabilize quadcopters on another world. SpaceX's Falcon 9, reusable and cheap, lands on drone ships named after Ian M. Banks novels. Starship, Von Braun's dream made steel, prepares to carry humans to Mars. The Red Planet, once a dot in Piedmont telescopes, awaits footprints. Yet the bomb's shadow lengthens. In 1979, a NORAD computer glitches, showing 2,200 incoming Soviet missiles. Operators have 3 minutes to decide. They wait. The glitch resolves. In 1983, Soviet satellite Cosmos 1382 misreads sunlight on clouds as U.S. launches. Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov trusts his gut, prevents retaliation. The world never knows how close it came. By 2025, 9 nations possess nuclear weapons. North Korea tests Hwasong, 18 ICBMs that can reach Los Angeles. Hypersonic glide vehicles, descendants of V2 reentry physics, defeat missile defenses. Cyberattacks target reactor controls. The doomsday clock stands at 90 seconds to midnight. The Codebreakers' heirs fight new battles. In 2013, Edward Snowden reveals PRISM, mass surveillance enabled by computing power Bletchley could only dream of. Quantum computers, using superposition to test all Enigma settings simultaneously, threaten every cipher. In 2024, China's Zhejiang 3 solves problems in minutes that would take classical supercomputers billions of years. The race is no longer for the moon, but for unbreakable encryption. In 2025, the International Space Station, built with modules launched by Proton, Atlas, and Soyuz, hosts astronauts from 19 nations. They grow lettuce in microgravity, test 3D printed hearts, and watch auroras dance over Earth. Below, borders are invisible from orbit. The photograph Earthrise, taken by Apollo 8, hangs in every classroom. It reminds us we share one fragile planet. The secrets of 1939 to 1945 gave us the tools to destroy ourselves and the vision to save ourselves. Enigma taught us to think in code. The bomb taught us humility. The rocket taught us to dream. The question is no longer whether we can reach the stars, but whether we can live long enough to get there. The fire we stole from the gods burns in reactors and warheads, in servers and engines. We're its keepers now. Look back at those young mathematicians in Pyre Forest, handing over their bomba to strangers. Look at Oppenheimer in the desert, whispering ancient verse as the sky split open. Look at von Braun watching his V2 rise, not knowing it would one day carry his species beyond Earth. Their stories are ours. The war is over, but the choices continue. Every launch, every line of code, every treaty signed or broken is a vote for the future. The final secret is this: technology is neutral. It is what we do with it that writes history. The next chapter is unwritten. Will we break the chains of mutual destruction? Will we plant forests on Mars? Will we share the fire or hoard it until it consumes us? The screen fades to black. In the silence, one line appears. What will you choose?